U.S. Green Party leader to Trump leave Iran. AloneTEHRAN FNA Jill Stein, a leader of the U.S. Green Party and former presidential candidate, blasted President Donald Trump's strategy on Tehran, calling on Washington to leave alone Iran and other independent nations and avoid starting a new war. The CIA overthrew Iran's democracy in 1953 and installed a brutal dictator. Iran and other nations don't want war, they want U.S. to leave them alone, Stein wrote on her Twitter page after Trump declared his administration's hostile strategy against Iran and the 2015 nuclear deal between Tehran and the world powers on Friday. With attack on Iran deal, Trump makes it clear his foreign policy is now about sacrificing U.S. interests to appease Saudi and Israeli hawks, she added. Entire world says Iran is complying with the deal. Those who say it isn't the same warmongers who lied us into Iraq. No more war, Stein wrote, noting that going back on the Iran deal won't just worsen Mideast conflict but it makes U.S. leaders look like liars, she wrote, with U.S. breaking word on Iran deal, even longtime allies in Europe are denouncing misleadership. The world now sees U.S. as a rogue nation. Now it's up to U.S. to make Congress salvage the deal keeping Iran nuke-free. We the people won't stand for another deadly arms race, Stein underlined. Her remarks came after Trump delivered a speech on Friday, outlining U.S. strategy on Iran. The U.S. president refused to certify the 2015 international nuclear agreement between Iran and the 5 permanent members of the UN Security Council in Germany, and warned that he might ultimately terminate it, in defiance of other world powers and undermining a landmark victory of multilateral diplomacy. Trump said he would choose not to certify that Tehran is complying with the nuclear deal, known as the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action (JCPOA). While Trump did not pull Washington out of the nuclear deal, he gave the U.S. Congress 60 days to decide whether to reimpose economic sanctions against Tehran that were lifted under the pact. Iranian President Hassan Rouhani responded Trump's comments a few hours later. Censuring Trump for calling the Persian Gulf the Arabian Gulf, Rouhani urged the U.S. president to brush up on his world history and geography to improve his comprehension of international obligations and global ethics, etiquette and conventions. How is it possible that a president has not yet learned the name of the world-renowned and historical Persian Gulf, where unfortunately U.S. warships unnecessarily and repeatedly sail through? He could have at least asked his country's military officials how the name of this gulf is printed on the maps they use, Rouhani stated. He further pointed to the history of U.S. antagonism toward Iran, saying, he has to study history better and more closely and know what they U.S. officials have done to the Iranian people over the past 60-something years and how they have treated the people of Iran during the past 40 years after the victory of the Islamic Revolution in 1979. The Iranian president further rejected Trump's demand that the JCPOA be revised, saying the agreement would remain intact and no article or paragraph would be added or taken away from it. He added that one president alone cannot abrogate an international deal, saying, Trump apparently does not know that this is not a bilateral document between Iran and the U.S. for him to act in any way he wishes. Rouhani said Iran will only respect its nuclear deal commitments so long as its rights are safeguarded, adding, Iran will honor its commitments as long as its interests are served. He also emphasized that the Islamic Republic has cooperated and would continue its cooperation with the International Atomic Energy Agency (IAEA) as long as the country's interests are protected and its rights are preserved. However, if one day our interests are not served, we will not hesitate even one moment and will respond, the Iranian president said. The Iranian nation has not yielded to any power and will not do so in the future, Rouhani said, emphasizing that many countries supported former Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein during the imposed war against Iran in the 1980s but they failed to defeat the Iranians. Rouhani further pointed to Trump's announcement of sanctions against Iran's IRGC, saying, the IRGC is a powerful force and the people are always standing by the IRGC. Is it the IRGC that is corrupt? Our governments and armed forces who have always intervened in this region against the independence of nations. Trump also announced sanctions on the IRGC, which he accused of destabilizing the Middle East and threatening American interests in the region. I am authorizing the Treasury Department to further sanction the entire Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps for its support for terrorism and to apply sanctions to its officials, agents and affiliates, he claimed. Iran's foreign ministry said in a statement earlier Friday that the Iranian armed forces, including the IRGC, are the symbol of power and defenders of security and are supported by the Iranian government and nation. The statement, which came a few hours before Trump's speech, emphasized that Iran's core policy is to support regional peace and stability and confront any destabilizing and divisive measures aimed at creating tensions and conflicts in the region. Rouhani further questioned the U.S. motives in expressing concern over Iran's missile program, saying the U.S. is providing arms to aggressive countries to target innocent people in the region, including in Yemen. Our missiles are for our defense, and we have always endeavored for the production of our weapons, and we will redouble our efforts from now on and will continue enhancing our defensive prowess.